but the world will know him as Superman.
Hello everyone out there in YouTube land. Today I'm going to be taking a look at New 52 Superman #1 from November 2011. Now the really cool thing about this book is it was written by George Perez, and the cover was done by George Perez along with Brian Busolito, and I believe George Perez did the penciling on that. Busolito did the coloring on it, because the pencils are in the interior are also done by George Perez. And Jesus Marino did the inks, and then it also credits Brian Busolito for the colors there at the end. So George Perez essentially drew and wrote this book. It's really great. Oh, and the lettering was done by Carlos Mangua.
It's Superman!
So, starting off, I really like the cover, and that's initially what got me interested in this book. It's a really great Superman cover. Superman's centered really well, and the cover itself isn't too busy. A lot of times, especially, I don't know, with more recent covers, they just try and make it really busy. They put a bunch of characters on there, and sometimes simplicity is the way to go, in my opinion. So the letters on the globe above Superman's head look really great. They look 3D. And also this cover makes you wonder about the story. What happened to Metropolis to have Superman holding the Daily Planet's globe above his head like that? And it's also very intense and shows his power. So, starting off, I'd just like to point out that this is a truly classic Superman story, even though it was written fairly recently. It pays homage to the Superman stories of the past numerous times. Okay, so on the first page, every panel shows the Daily Planet and introduces us to the comic with some history and backstory of Metropolis, and more specifically, the Daily Planet. So on the next page, it shows the Daily Planet building being demolished and a new one being opened on the other side of the city by the mayor and many others. Now, this page is really interesting. We see Morgan Edge on the stage, and he is talking about having recently purchased the Daily Planet. Morgan Edge is the president of Galaxy Communications and the owner of the Globe, and he's just purchased the Daily Planet, so now it's called the New Daily Planet and has a new building. This character was originally created by Jack Kirby, which I didn't know, and I looked up when I read this story, and he originally appeared in Jimmy Olsen, Superman's pal, in 1970, but this is his first appearance in the New 52. So that's cool. Oh, and another thing about this page, you can also see wearing purple and standing on the edge of the crowd. It's this character named Pandora, and she's really interesting because she's in every #1 issue of the New 52, including the second wave, but I'm going to have to talk more about her another time. So on the next page, we get this really awesome full splash page of Superman, and he's hovering in the clouds, and the title to this issue is shown at the bottom, What Price Tomorrow? And then we see what Superman was hovering over. He was there watching the demolition of the old Daily Planet, which is a really powerful scene if you think about it, with his life as Clark Kent. And we learn throughout the story that he was really opposed to the Daily Planet being sold off to Morgan Edge. Superman flies off before Jimmy Olsen on the ground can snap his picture. And then we see a page showing some guards at the Metropolis Astrodome, which picks up again a little later in the story. On the next page, it shows Lois and Clark are arguing about the sale of the Daily Planet. It's kind of a flashback, and then what they should do about it. Then we get a full page, which is really kind of random. It's a tie-in to Stormwatch #1, so I looked that up, and it's pretty interesting. In this Superman comic, it shows a creature on a mountain in the Himalayas blowing a giant horn, and then Stormwatch #1 starts off, and the characters there hear a horn being blown. And I guess Stormwatch is a team of superheroes that was created by Jim Lee. And during the New 52 launch, Stormwatch and other Wildstorm properties were brought into the main DC universe. So the next two pages are where the comic starts to pick up. the pace, we see there's a fire at the Astrodome, and at the same time Superman flies to Midtown to stop some terrorists who have hijacked a truck. So the truck has got all kinds of chemicals and stuff, and the police are after the truck as well. So at the Astrodome they're investigating the fire, and on the next page we see Perry White and everybody sending out the reporters to go follow the Superman story, which is breaking, and Superman decided to just pick up the truck of chemicals with the terrorists in it and lift it up in the air. So that's pretty smart, and the news and police helicopters are following them. Back at the Astrodome, the power has just gone out, and the guards are still investigating the fire, and there's a huge fiery explosion there. But Superman's on the other side of town there dealing with the truck, and he's got him up in the air, and it's like telling the terrorist guys to drop their weapons or he'll throw the whole thing in the river, and they're like, you wouldn't do that, it would contaminate the river. And he's like, good point. Well, I could throw you into space as long as I don't hit a satellite. And the news reporters and stuff are on the ground now, and they are videoing the story and taking pictures. And this is a pretty cool reference here, because there is a newer reporter, and he says, wow, he keeps getting stronger and flying higher every time I see him. And then this is a cool reference here. And then the other guy says, yeah, I remember when he couldn't do much more than leap over tall buildings in a single bound. I like that. So the terrorists and stuff are in the tanker, and suddenly it blows up. Superman goes flying, you know, it knocks him back, and all the people on the ground are horrified, and some people are trying to figure out if Superman caused it. I mean, like Lois and all the people who have sense don't think he did, but some people are like, oh, did Superman do it? But right away, they find out that it wasn't him because he's getting hit with balls of fire, and it knocks him back, but he's okay. And then the fire flies out and it hits a tower. Oh, it's called the Swan Tower. And the people are like, it's trying to set fire to the city. And then you see that it's a creature. There's a creature inside the fire, and it speaks some kind of alien language, and it points at Superman. And Superman is like, okay, enough is enough. It's time for you to get snuffed out. And right when the creature throws a giant fireball at him, he uses his super breath, and he doesn't just blow it out, he blows right through it and keeps going until the fire creature notices what he's doing. So to distract Superman, he throws a fireball towards Jimmy and the other reporters. But Superman grabs a giant billboard and uses it to block the fireball, and the billboard isn't actually being set on fire, which is interesting. It's like it's becoming fire is what it said. It's becoming fire. So the helicopters and stuff are still watching what he's doing, and he warns them to get back, but fireball flies out and it hits one of the helicopters. It blows up a police helicopter and comes crashing down to the earth. And it jumps to the police station, and they're talking about it, and the chief is like, or actually he's the lieutenant, and he says, there's nothing we can do, nothing much any of us can do at times like these. We've been through this type of thing before, too many times by my reckoning. Concentrate on crowd control, evacuation, try to keep the body count as low as possible. Beyond that, well, like it or not.
This looks like a job for Superman.
Like, he actually says that this is a job for Superman. So that's another cool reference. Like, you can tell the writer, George Perez, I mean, obviously he knows his stuff, but little nods like that to the fans are really great. Which is cool, because I always think of him as an artist, and that's what he's primarily known for, but he really knows how to write, too. Superman continues fighting the fire creature. He's getting knocked back by the fire, getting hit constantly. So he decides that he needs a diversion. He goes and smashes into the ground and grabs the Daily Planet building, the ball from the top of it, the globe. And at the same time, back at the news station, Lois is ordering the reporters to get back because it's too dangerous and she doesn't want him to get killed. And Morgan Edge is upset about that. So anyway, Superman picks up the Daily Planet globe like you see on the cover, and there's this really awesome panel where he throws it at the fire creature, and it looks really cool the way it's drawn. And he's like, so far you've been doing all the pitching this game. Now let's see if you can catch. And he throws it at him. And the fire creature, he doesn't let it hit him. He destroys the globe with his, power, his firepower, blows it up. But that was what Superman thought he was going to do and used it as a diversion. And he flies into the creature and catches him. He actually grabs hold of him. So he takes him up into space because he figured even an alien fire needed oxygen. And he was right. It snuffs out the thing, and its tether to the fire at the Astrodome is severed, and it goes out. So then it's the next day, and they're kind of recapping things. And this is kind of weird because of, the history is Lois and, Lois Lane and Clark Kent are together. But in the New 52, they did something different. So anyway, Clark's going over to talk to Lois at her apartment, and when he gets there, there's a different guy, in there. So this is the number 1, so they aren't together or anything, like Lois and Clark don't get together. So it's kind of sad, Clark leaves, and it's kind of sad. He just kind of gets in the elevator and leaves, but you can tell that he likes Lois, and she doesn't, she just sees him as a friend or something, which, would be kind of a bummer, but in the New 52 that Superman gets with Wonder Woman instead. They have a whole line of comics, and they have a romance, the Superman Wonder Woman comics. So I have some of those. I'll probably review that sometime, as well. So let me know in the comments, what did you think? Did you like the art? Did you like the story? What did you think of, New 52 Superman and Clark being with Wonder Woman, or, Superman being with Wonder Woman and not being with Lois? And, let me know what you think. So, as always, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. That helps me out immensely. And as always, thank you for watching.
End of line.